Hello team, and welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce, and I am joined today in this super last minute. Literally, this stream was not going to take place 10 minutes ago. I was happily getting ready to do my military aid video, and I had contact with Claire, and this is very late. Claire lives in Australia. This is very late her time. And she is one of the organisers. She'll introduce herself as to what she does and what part she plays in Car4Ukraine. But the campaign fundraiser that we are presently doing for Car4Ukraine, for the Ukrainian units that desperately need this equipment, is going really well from a kind of personal channel point of view. We've raised 36,617 euros, which is absolutely phenomenal in the time that we have been going. So that's fabulous. But look at how close the grand total is to 100,000. So it's just flipped up to 99,851. 99,851 euros. That's almost a snip away from two-thirds away from two-thirds away from the two-thirds of the way through the grand total. Goodness me, this is what happens when I go to the pub last night and have just a couple too many shandies, and my brain the next day is suffering. Anyway, without further ado, thank you so much to Claire for coming on at the last minute, and hopefully you can introduce yourself and introduce Car4Ukraine for the audience that hasn't really heard a proper introduction about the organization from myself.
Hello, everybody on ATP Geopolitics. What an amazing experience this has been, getting to know your host, JP, and your group, and how productive you are. I have just come off a phone conversation with Ivan, who's in Ukraine, who was today delivering 9 vehicles to the front, and doing feedback videos for donors and making sure everything was going to the right unit, with drivers that need to get these out to different areas of Ukraine. Some of them go on a truck, some of them get picked up halfway to the front, and some of them have to go all the way in different directions. So it's quite a big thing for him getting those cars out, and they've had a very productive day today with 9 of them. They sometimes have 5, they sometimes have, I think the most they've had is 12 in one day. But I think our Christmas fundraiser, combined with the big fundraiser on Ukraine Matters, he's paying for 25 trucks all by himself, wow, with his community, is going to blow out those records. But anyway, yes, Ivan's pretty busy, otherwise he would have joined us. So apologies from him, but he has got a little bit of a Christmas gift for us to show later, Jonathan, hasn't he?
Yes. So so the way this goes, and by the way, here's the campaign page for Car4Ukraine. So it's not just our campaign that's taking place. We had Georgie on the other day in a live stream with Jonathan Fink, and we were talking about this. So Georgie's on board with a huge, very robust number there that he's hoping to get. So that's pretty challenging, but good luck to him. And of course, another one as well, Power at the front line. So we are trucks under the Christmas tree, and we're doing a really good job to get those trucks to Ukraine. Now, Claire, I think, can explain, because we're going to show some video and some footage that actually not all those trucks that we're fundraising will be trucks that need to be taken from UK to Ukraine, or from Europe to Ukraine, as a result of this fundraising, because there seems to be a sort of conveyor belt of trucks going and coming and available. And actually, one of our trucks is already ready and is already getting delivered to the people who need it. But we'll talk about that in a little second. That's what Claire was hinting at. So Claire, talk us through.
It's not really like a conveyor belt, but in your case, so most of the channels in this Christmas tree group are doing all-purpose vehicles for frontline vehicles. So they need to be sourced in the UK, then delivered to Ukraine, then armored and mechanically improved. In the case of what you're doing, which is the rocket trucks, and the Shills are doing, which is rocket trucks, the trucks are bought in the UK, delivered to Lviv, and immediately shipped out. So these have actually been paid for by your campaign, that they haven't been paid for by anybody else. They've been paid for by your campaign. But because the people who install the rocket launcher have to take the back off the vehicle and they don't want armor, they do all their own work. They're actually back from the front line, so they don't need armor, but they need to be able to do all that back end work on the vehicle. There's no point in Car4Ukraine doing anything with it. They do it all themselves. So that gets delivered to the secret rocket launch installer team. And no, I don't know where they are. Ivan's been there, but I haven't. I don't know where they are. And they're very secretive about it, for obvious reasons. And so your group started fundraising 2 weeks ago, and then the buyer, who's a Ukraine man, part of a Ukraine community in London, who's been buying cars for Ukraine since 2014, he then has to look for a better quality Hilux for the rocket launching people, because the vehicle needs to be very sturdy and really good condition, but also quite a powerful engine to carry the weight of the rocket launcher. And so if one of those become available, then he'll just snatch it up off the market. He'll grab it. He buys them like as soon as they hit the market. He's usually buying them within 5 minutes. They've come online, and he'll just whiz out to grab a good one. And they're incredibly active, this team of buyers. And so your money would have gone through, and then he's just found a vehicle that was just suitable and snatched it and put it on the first truck out of UK to here. So it just has got through really quickly, and it doesn't need any work in Lviv, so it goes straight out again off to the rocket launching people. Yeah, so it's really interesting process. So with the rocket launch, with the other teams, we get requests from frontline soldiers who have sent in a video with a request for, can you get me a truck? I'm in the, the 24th Mechanized Battalion or whatever they are. But in the case of the rocket launchers, there's kind of an agreement that we try to provide 2 rocket launches a month, and this month we'll be providing, or next month we'll be providing more because of this fundraiser. And then they work out where those vehicles go to. We're not party to where they deliver those vehicles. That's their own arrangement with people who they think are suitable for the rocket launches. But we provide the vehicle to get more rocket launching out there.
And is that what this vehicle? So we have already got, that is a genuine ATP Geopolitics sticker on the side of this vehicle. That has been, I presume, that is one. And we've got fighting for freedom.
Ivan just sent through.
Yeah, so fighting for freedom and truth, which is what I wanted on the side, which is all that's what we're all about here. I bloody love this. I mean, look at how awesome that looks.
So if I can suggest to you, you write down your sorry, I need to mute this. Just hit the play button on what Ivan sent, which has only just come through a second ago, everybody, when Jonathan and I haven't seen this video yet.
Yeah, I'm going to show that in a second. There's 2 videos, actually. But yeah, carry on.
So yes, this is the vehicle. It's just come in from London, and might have come in yesterday, had a quick paint job, had the stickers put on. There's a family that do these stickers in the town, and they pump out these stickers very quickly. But yeah, so this will go off, and your lovely sticker at the back, I think you're going to lose that when you lose the back of the truck, aren't you?
Yeah, I would just that was a question I was going to ask you, actually, is no, that's surely going to be cut off, but the next one we'll have it on. But yes.
But can I suggest that you write down the number plate, because sometimes you get photographs back on from the war front,
right,
those are things, and you can go, wait a minute, that's one of my number plates.
That's a good old British number plate as well. NL62. That's a 2012. What is it? I don't know what vehicle that is. Is it a Hilux?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a Hilux. I think they can only do these rocket launches on Hilux. The other pickup trucks are not quite strong enough.
I'm gonna just unpresent this and present this again so I can get the sound on it. So we'll watch a couple of videos. We've got 2 videos to share with you, which are really damned cool. Let's go for this one. That is, he
So
said,
just
yeah,
so people
carry on.
understand, this is what you've paid for. You who are here on this channel, this is what you've paid for.
Yeah, this has been bought and paid for already, right? So this is absolutely fantastic. Hopefully you can get the sound on this, but I'm not sure that sound is important for this one. I haven't watched this yet,
Yeah.
however.
No.
Let's see if I can full screen that.
Background traffic. Yeah. But Ivan might speak. He might be. Oh no, he would be introducing the cars, I think.
So that's the ATP Geopolitics. Then there's another one ready to go. It hasn't been stickered up with another one, but this is obviously, you know, what you guys have.
So these are the regular vehicles coming out of Car4Ukraine, not from this campaign. Only yours is from this campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting that all of those are British number plates from what I could see. So that's interesting in itself. Now we're going to show another video of that vehicle. Let's have a look. So it's going to be hopefully the sound takes place on this one, because but it might not actually. I've got to share a tab or screen. If I share a screen, right? Okay, so if I share the entire screen, then I can have that video, and that means we can, right, okay, so that should allow us to share the sound as well, because I think he speaks on this one. Let's see. Can you hear that? Can you hear that, Claire?
No, I haven't heard anything yet. No, can't hear. Oh no, that's you rustling.
Can anyone hear that at all? If you can't, then that's a real shame. You can't hear any of that. Ah, damn it. Okay, so I need to work out how to share that with sound, because that's going to be super important. Anyway, back to you. Do you want to just talk us through, while I try and sort that out? Do you want to talk us through how?
So it's interesting that you were you noticed all the British vehicles. So Car4Ukraine almost exclusively sources vehicles in Britain, in the UK. And the reason they do that is not only is partly because of this Ukrainian group that live in London, who know what they're doing, and they're so on the ball about buying vehicles that they're that the two groups came together on this back early in 2022. But also the market in Britain is a lot different to the market in the EU. The market in the EU is about twice as expensive for vehicles. So if you're buying vehicles there, you can only, it would slow us down by half, right? Or we'd be going at half pace, because it takes you so much more funds to raise the money to buy a vehicle. So it was really worthwhile going with UK vehicles. The reason why the market's so different is, of course, the right-hand drive, the right-hand seating, which we've got in Australia, as well as, you guys. And a lot of Southeast Asia has right-handed seating in cars, but the US and EU are all left-hand. And so the EU doesn't want to buy UK cars. So the second-hand car market doesn't spread to the EU, which makes the UK car market much, much cheaper. So that's where the cars come from. And then they're taken to Ukraine. So we're the on-ground in Ukraine car providing organization, NGO. Ivan and all the rest of the team, which is about 20 people, do this as volunteers. So they all have another primary job, but I think they're only working very part-time on the job this has kind of taken over. But they're not taking wages from the Car4Ukraine, and that is really reflected in the prices too, because what you pay, when I drove cars from, I did a little convoy of 3 cars from UK to Ukraine, and I actually asked for the a photograph of the cars online in their for sale state, and they were all selling for approximately $8,000 converted to pound, obviously, in that situation. But and then the extra 2,000 goes on the transporting them across, but then mechanically improving them and armoring them, which is really important. And we should talk more about that soon. But the price is true, and you can see that nobody's taking a wage out of this except for the mechanics. But to me, it was really important to be supporting a group that was not only transparent, because that's really important, and accountable for the money they spend, but also to be a grassroots Ukrainian group, and to put my energy and any of my donor money or another one, videos come through for you, Jonathan. For that to be an in Ukraine, because part of the task of supporters and donors is to actually support the development of the country. And I wanted to find an organization where they were developing skills within the country and paying wages within the country and paying taxes within the country. I thought that was, to me,
I think that's important. Yeah, I like that idea, because I mean, NAFO's absolutely brilliant. I love NAFO, and they do a really good job. But there's a lot of work, obviously, that goes on outside in Estonia before the trucks go in, which is a really valid way of doing it. Make sure it's all safe and they are delivered. But then this is just another way, 2 sides of the square. But then the added benefit that you guys have is that as you say, that work is being done inside Ukraine, and that helps the economy, which I think is really important.
And not only that, the feedback from the soldiers to Ivan and his team is really quite effective. Like they really talk to the soldiers about, how did your vehicle go? Was it what you wanted? And in some cases, they've had to talk people into armoring, and the people, some soldiers have said, we don't want a car that can't move because it's so heavy. And they, Ivan's had to talk them into it. And then later they've come back and said, well, that vehicle actually saved my life. So I'm completely converted to armoring now. And but there's a lot of feedback that goes on, and that's part of the development of the relationship with the rocket launching people. That's not possible out of the country. That's an in-country thing. That's about this country fighting its war and people being innovative about how to install a rocket launcher on the back of a truck. And we played that rocket launching video on the Shills. Was it the Shills? Or no, it was on Rick the Ukrainian very early this morning for me. And there were 2 soldiers on that stream, and they were fascinated by the fact that the rocket launching engineers had got the engineering so tight that when the rocket launched, the car didn't rock around and bounce back, and it was really set on the ground, even though they hadn't dug it in. They'd got it all so balanced, the reaction to the firing mechanism, that the truck really took the impact very, very, very well. It was fascinating to see their reaction to that.
Yeah, and so we can actually just give a sense of that. We'll play this video first, and hopefully this now has sound. And then we can look at those rocket launch trucks. So is this Ivan then speaking? Because I haven't seen him.
Yes, this is Ivan.
Yeah. So let me know if you can hear this.
Hello, Jonathan.
Yes.
And hello, beautiful ATP Geopolitics community. You are the greatest. To be honest, I didn't expect much because I didn't know Jonathan. I didn't know what you guys are capable of. But you raised money within 26 hours for this beautiful Toyota Hilux, and your beautiful slogan that says fighting for freedom and the truth. And with this pickup truck that will be later upgraded with the rocket launcher is a good proof you guys not just talking about having the victory, but you're actually fighting. And thank you all very much. I think your community already raised for 3.5 cars, and you're reaching for Besides this one, we have a beautiful convoy of 9 vehicles. On our YouTube channel, you'll find out more about each of them. But now I'd like to thank you all and wish you all Merry Christmas. Slava Ukraini.
Heram Slava. What a legend. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, he's a
So
terrific
cool.
bloke. You know, he's 27 or something, and he's so productive, so easy to work with, so straight, very international. Had part of his education in the USA.
Right.
Great
Yeah,
bloke.
no, yeah, absolutely awesome. And here's the stabilization that the vehicles get to fire those rockets. Last time I showed this video in a whole, the video got restricted. So YouTube doesn't like showing these rockets going off because YouTube is YouTube. But just, you know, in this video from Car4Ukraine, you can see, you know, the rockets firing off. And you know, there is that stabilization on the back that you were saying that the soldiers were happy with. So that's really cool.
Yes, because obviously to push the rocket forward, there must be a backward reaction of the vehicle. They seem to have got that really well balanced. Yeah, it was really impressive to see the lack of movement of the vehicle. We expected a bit more bounce back, but it didn't. And then there was a discussion, of course, as soldiers do, about, you know, is it more with mortars than with rockets? And apparently it's more with mortars than with rockets. And I went, oh, well, there you go. We're not doing mortars anyway. So, but it was, I learned a bit about mortars.
Absolutely. This war is it's a learning curve for us all. I mean, I am talking about things knowledgeably, or at least somewhat knowledgeably, that I never would have dreamed of being talking about, you know, 5 years ago, talking about multiple launch rocket systems and this kind of weapon and that kind of system, this kind of, and also just the general geopolitical knowledge that I've now had to get to know. It's quite incredible. But we're all having these conversations now that would have been anathema to us maybe some time back. But yeah,
absolutely. I know, it's really weird. And once you get absorbed in this, you can't come out. It's too important.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've wondered over the course of doing this now for 2.5 years, that, you know, would I wake up one morning and go, oh, I can't be bothered. I can't be asked today to go and do this, because I do sort of 4 to 5 videos a day, every day, no, 7 days a week. And you think, surely I'm going to run out of energy at some point. And actually, and sometimes I think that I'm going to have these meta conversations in my head, and then I start doing my research in the morning, and I'm like, I've got to tell the team that, I've got to tell them this, and then before you know it, I'm you know, in the zone, because it is so important, and yeah, it is all consuming, absolutely, as many of my audience will also vouch. It consumes us all in some way, shape or form. So these are the same sort of images, but Ivan's just shared these with me with his Google Drive. It's just fantastic to see Ivan there, but fantastic to see all of these vehicles coming out. Not all of them from the UK. That van is from somewhere else, obviously, maybe Germany. I don't know.
So some of those would have been donated by the owner. Like a lot of people, actually, there's quite a well-trodden path just donating a vehicle outright, and I think that van could be one of those.
Right.
But that van could also be one of the special vans they're buying for the larger drone people.
Right.
They need very large transporters because they've got these huge drones, these long-distance drones that are going into Russia. They need these huge transporter sort of vans like that to move them around. Yeah.
So that's really useful for Ivan to have sent that out there. That is that video, or was the one that he showed us before. Okay, so that's really good news. Fantastic news as well, in that I think the full campaign has raised over 100,000.
Did we get over?
Yeah, so let's have a look. So let's refresh. This 99,851 goes to 100,082. So, oh no, I wasn't even showing that. That wonderful kind of moment has been lost there. I don't know what's going on.
You've got that. I haven't got it yet. It hasn't come through on my computer.
Yeah,
yet.
So you had this earlier where it was ahead for me, but not.
I had it first, and then you had it second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, here it is on the main page. $100,082.67. How marvelous is that? Wow,
absolutely brilliant. Although these are euros, it's a far more advanced currency than the Australian dollar, Claire. Surely.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm talking US dollars.
Oh, right, fair enough.
The Australian dollar, we'd be down around. I don't know where. I mean, it's for us to go. A pound is $2 Australian.
Yeah, so it'll be way more. It'll look even more impressive.
Euro is $1.50 or something like that. Yeah.
So we are now 36,743 on my one. So that's fantastic. Let's keep pushing that, and it's great to see. It's great to see on these pages as well. So there's your 36,743. It's great to see the donor wall as well, so you can get to an insight into what people are thinking and what they're doing.
The comment's really nice. I would encourage people not to be shy about a comment on the donor wall. You don't have to identify yourself. You can go anonymous or just put your first name. But to say why you've given to this campaign is really nice for everybody to read, and encourages other people to do the same, I think, too. Yeah.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because Andrew David Clarkson here has given a donation and put #Save Doris. So on my channel, I always talk about this. I use the analogy of Doris is across the street, right? She's getting mugged by this thug, which is like Ukraine is across the street getting attacked by Russia. And I always use analogy. So if the logic works here, then if it's a good analogy, then the logic should work over there. So if you find this disgusting, so the analogy would be, if you see Doris getting beaten up across the street and you stand from the other side of the street and you don't help Doris, then what are you doing? What's your position as a moral member of the community? You are complicit in the thug beating up Doris. So surely you would be happy enough to at least give Doris some pepper spray to defend herself, or you go and help out yourself, so on and so forth. So I use all these analogies, but it always ends up with Doris getting the crap beaten out of her, and it's just really sad. So there's a bit of a #Save Doris. So I like that. Anyway, that's really good news that the campaign as a whole is over 100,000. So talk to us a little bit more.
The 100,000 is like a real benchmark figure, isn't it? It's a big one. And, even if this campaign never got any further, that's a huge success.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got 5 tracks to go, and I think we're going to get there with all the...
That's a great point as well, actually, that even if we fail to get any more donations from now, then actually what an incredible achievement already. That's 10 trucks from otherwise wouldn't have been going, so that's absolutely brilliant. Oh no, give Doris a break, please. So that's absolutely fantastic. Talk us through some of those other anecdotes of feedback you've had from people on the front. How are they coping without these vehicles? What's the situation that they are requiring these vehicles?
I'll tell you a story. So this story came in to me about 2 weeks ago, and it really does kind of explain why the trucks. I mean, we've had some feedback, particularly from Americans, about doing these fundraisers, and why do you need to fundraise for this? Surely the countries are donating these sort of vehicles. But of course they're not. They're donating the heavy fighting vehicles, but that might go to a specific unit or battle or area. But for your average soldier on the front, they haven't got a vehicle given to them by the army. Ukraine can't afford it, and so they're on foot. So the story I have to tell, this isn't about rocket launchers, this is about every unit needs vehicles. And so this guy writes to me, my buddy was injured in the chest and we were stuck under fire and he got injured and we were trying to get out, but we couldn't leave him behind. And we had one of those, cloth or rubber stretchers, but we had to go 20 kilometers to the first triage station to save his life. And at the triage station, so he's bleeding into his chest. At the triage station, they would have put a drain in his chest, put him on oxygen, then got him to a hospital to get the shrapnel out, and he would have lived. Given him a blood transfusion, maybe. So they called for a truck to get this guy out, and there were no trucks available. And so they were stuck there, and he took hours to die. And they all knew he was dying. He knew he was dying, and there was no solution for them. They just had to bear it and watch him die. And I was just so broken by this story and thought, we've got to get more trucks. Got to get more trucks. And since then, my aim for me is to double the output of trucks that Car4Ukraine do, to get more trucks to these units that are just giving their all and haven't got a truck to get out their injured buddy. I mean, terrible. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I have a question for you. First of all, let's go to a comment, which is Matt Bishop in Australia. So he is a huge supporter. He does a lot of work supporting NAFO campaigns. He's also supported this campaign. He's a great Aussie. Well, actually, he's British, really, but he pretends to be Australian.
Well, I've got a British passport. What the heck? I've got an Australian entity. I'm a dual citizen.
I'm sure he'll love me saying that. No, he's married to a Ukrainian. They were living in Kharkiv, and then at the beginning of the war, they went back out to Australia because Kharkiv was obviously being surrounded at the time. So he says, well, now that I'm not hiding, I drove a 89 Hilux for 15 years. I loved that car. I crashed into almost everything in Australia and walked away. So there you go. Big advocate.
They are tough.
Yeah, and talking about...
And we also have the Top Gear version of the Unbreakable car, right?
Oh, was that...
They took a Toyota Hilux and they dropped it from an enormous height from a crane. They just dropped it. And then they did I don't know what else they did to it. They set it on fire, I think. And then they put it in the sea for a day and then they towed it out. And then they let it dry and then they just turned on the engine and it started and drove away. It was like, oh, wow, these are tough cars.
Yeah. Well, Talking Bloke says, I have a question for Claire, 2 parts. 1, how's the dog? I don't know what he's talking about there. And has Claire found any time for herself this Christmas? And can she have a Merry Christmas, please? She's a boss. So you're a boss. Thank you.
That's very nice. I visited, so what he's talking about is about 6 weeks ago, my very beloved dog died. And I was quite heartbroken, as you are, but I thought, well, I can't let that interfere with any of this because this is, that's not even proportional to what we're doing here. But because I was untethered, I live on a farm, and because I didn't have to find someone to look after my dog, I decided to jump on a plane within 2 days and go to Germany to visit my 2 sons who live in Germany and are working in Germany and in relationships in Germany. And so we had 10 days together in Berlin just spontaneously. And that was our Christmas get together. I'll be seeing one of them at the end of January again, but I will be having Christmas with friends. But Christmas isn't a big focus for me because I feel as though I've already done that to some degree. And then when I came back, just to put the other bookend up, I then went away. So I was 2 weeks in Germany. Then I came back. I had 3 days away up at Caloundra, which is a beach resort, with some girlfriends. And we spent the whole time researching dogs needing homes. And the result of that was I got a dog straight away. I mean, not someone who can live without a dog. I need a dog badly. Living alone for security, I need the dog. Going out on the farm, I need a dog for snakes. I just really need a dog as a companion as well. And I found this little black Kelpie that is learning how to be a decent dog. She's been outside tearing up boxes while we speak.
Brilliant, brilliant. So what is your connection to Ukraine? I noticed, I was just wondering about your surname there, and I just, so what's your connection?
It's a German surname, but I was born with a French surname. I'm a Vaux, which the Vaux went across, I think, to Britain with the, in 1066, one of those periods of French invasion and the Norman conquest, or whatever it is. And but I married a man of German descent. He's the Ulrichs part of it.
Right.
But I was born in Britain, so I think of myself as very much a dual citizen. My father was British, my mother was Australian, but my husband was Australian, more Australian than German. Like they were German years. Yeah. So no connection with Ukraine. The first Ukrainian I ever met was the man who met me at the airport, Sergei, when I did my convoy.
Right. So this, for you, rather like for many of us, this is a kind of calling, a moral obligation. What was it? What was it that attracted? Not attracted. That's probably the wrong word. But what was it that drew you to this conflict and seeing it as important as you think it is?
It's really hard to know what triggered that, but immediately that the full-scale invasion happened, I was horrified. I was horrified at the loss of Crimea. I see Crimea very much along the Ben Hodges line of Crimea is like this jewel that you must get back because it's so central to the Black Sea and trade and things like that. I see Crimea as incredibly important. But for the full-scale invasion, I was just so horrified. And you kind of run through your mind, what would that be like? Living in Australia, we're so far from having neighbours close. There's the way Europeans live, with all their borders against each other. No wonder they've had such long conflicts over so many years. But in Australia, we're so sequestered from all of that. So I was just absolutely horrified. But then other people have said to me that I'm channeling my father. My father was a spy during the 50s.
Oh, wow.
He was a submariner, and he was stationed going in and out of Murmansk to spy on Russian activities in the North Sea and or the Barents Sea or whatever that is up there. And so I don't know whether there's always been this sort of thing about Russia. I kind of put it down to too many of those early James Bond movies, like the woman with the spike in the shoe that would stick you with a poisonous umbrella.
Yeah.
And things like that. So I just have always had this kind of anxiety a little bit about Russia. I've never been to Russia. I'm not like Jonathan Fink that's been there multiples of times. But I was just so horrified. And then some of the ghastly stories. I am someone who, if I hear a ghastly story, I want to know the whole of it. I can't leave it unsaid. And I have done a little bit of a deep dive into the horrors of the mutilations that the Russians have imposed on captive Ukrainians, and the cutting off of sexual parts and things like that. And it's just such a lot of horror in this ghastly story. There is, to me, a complete obvious moral right and moral wrong. And
agreed.
It's just not in my being to not do anything about it. It took me quite a while. Like, I only really got to know, I started donating to Car4Ukraine somewhere in mid-2022, but just kept up some donations, and I was bringing in some donations from some local people during 2023 for Car4Ukraine. We would buy a car every 3 months or something like that. And then I did the convoy with my two sons as a birthday gift to me. They offered me, go and see the gorillas, which I'm a real animal person, so that was attractive. We also like boats. So we, I've just got to turn that off because it's pinging, isn't it? So they offered a trip, a yachting trip somewhere in the South Pacific. And I went, oh, look, I really should do one. And then the third offer was to drive a truck to Ukraine. And I thought, no, I really should go and see the guerrillas. I really should do that. And I said, I'm just going to have to take a week to think about this, boys. And I came back to them. I said, I'm sorry, Mike. You might be disappointed, but my heart's in Ukraine. I've got to do it. I've got to get a car over to Ukraine. I can't think of anything more important to do with my time. And so we all met up in London and did the convoy. And we were originally going in one car because it was a family trip, right? Get to see the boys. And one of them was like, 3 of us in one car for hours and hours all day. How awful will that be? And the others were like, yeah, we're going to bond up. You've always got two ends in your two types of kids. The others were, we're going to have such a bonding experience in this vehicle. We're going to be so close by the end of it. And the other one's thinking, we're going to be arguing. And anyway, at the last minute, Ivan said, will you do 3 separate trucks? And at that point, the one who didn't want to all squash up in the car said, yes, now I'm 100% in. And he said, I'm going to get radios for us so we can talk. And so we had radio connection between the vehicles. We went in fairly close convoy and we did all our stops together. You could get on the radio and say, I'm pulling over it. I need fuel or I need coffee or what time's lunch? Where's the next restaurant? Where are we going to stop for that? And so we did all our meals together. We stayed at Airbnbs together. We had heaps of time together, but in the end we drove 3 trucks and then got over and went into Lviv and delivered them to Ivan. And the whole thing was filmed, a lot of it filmed on my phone from the cradle on the dashboard and presented by ForcesNet. And ForcesNet is this strange kind of newspaper for people that are in the British forces. And it's picked up by forces people all around the world. So it tells stories about military stories, current wars, things like that. And they did a thing on this convoy. And they asked me for, do I have backstory, military story that I can give them to pad out the story for the military people. So I was able to give them my father's military history, which they found really interesting because there were some quite predominant battles that he'd been involved in, and the submarines that had got hit up in Murmansk. He was in one of those ships, but they managed to lose all communication but still limp home. And that had been quite well documented. So they were able to bring that into the story. And it was quite, so it was kind of fun to put together this thing. And they kept saying to me, send me more videos, but could you put your phone on landscape? And I went, I'm not a tech generation person. I had to say to my boys, where's the landscape button?
Brilliant.
Instead of just turning it around on the cradle.
Yeah. Genius.
Yeah.
Stupidity in Essence asks, how old are the cars and can they repair them? Is there any kind of age where you say, no, that vehicle's too old? Is it just what you can buy for the money?
Yeah, well, so no, it's not just, we're not just taking any old car. It's got to be a car that can fight a war. Generally, the desirable age group is 2010 to 2014. They do go back as far as 2008 for some vehicles that have low mileage and really good condition. Like occasionally you get a single owner car that's older, but it's only been on farm and it might have a totally trashed body, but the engine's in amazing working condition and it's got no rust. And so then that's like a treasure because you can usually get them quite cheap.
Yeah.
Because of the age and the body damage. But, what is a car that's going to war? It doesn't matter about the body damage, right? You can send it off with dents. We had a couple of cars that were pretty dented and it didn't really matter for the purpose. So, so that's kind of the ideal age to get the right price. And that age group doesn't have a whole lot of electronic gadgets that just, are taking energy
more to go wrong.
Yeah, more to go wrong. You kind of need a wind-up window if you can get it for fighting war because you're going to lose that capacity to open your window.
Interesting.
And so stuff like that. So you want to be a little bit pre-computers in the car, because once the computer's gone, the car's going to stop, and that's too vulnerable. So that age group, that older age group, but not so ancient that they're, that they've got thousands.
Fascinating, yeah. Because interesting you say that. Because I've often thought about this, which is what happens if this car flips, and the cars automatically lock when you start driving nowadays to stop carjacking and whatnot. And you got electric windows, and I often think, well, if I crash a car, can anyone get in to save me? And a car flipped outside my house, like randomly. It's like a quiet suburban area, and some 91-year-old, I think, clipped a vehicle as he went past. He was only apparently doing 20 miles an hour, but I think he hit this vehicle that was parked and then hit the curb in such a way that the car flipped, and we all sort of rushed out there, and in the end there were like 3 fire trucks, 4 police cars, and ambulance. It was crazy, but they cut out the back of the car and got him out through the back. But I couldn't open. I'm sure I tried. I couldn't open the door because it's also locked. And you're like, well, how do I get this guy? How do I, how do you get in? So yeah, I can understand there are issues in a war zone. You want simple.
I had a dog stand on the lock button when my car was getting fuel and the key was still in the engine, but the car was turned off, and he stood on the lock button, and we
go to
the garage, and the garage guy came out with a sledgehammer to smash the side window, and the window was just like, whoa, 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 didn't smash. That reinforced glass is so strong. We had to leave. It was Easter, so we had to leave it there till, people went back to work, and the NRMA would come down and find a way to break in the back of the car. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a big problem. And so, yeah, they really they're going to lose the electronics anyway. They're going to take out the radio, and they're going to do stuff like that. But they don't want to be dependent on a computer and have a whole lot of gadgets that they actually don't need. So having that older type of vehicle is quite important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But then some of the vehicles, of course, go to doing more deliveries, like the big drone trucks that we're getting now, that Georgie on Ukraine Matters is raising funds for. He's raising funds. Every unit on his fundraiser gets a big transporter as well as a frontline truck.
Yeah.
So they take the drones out in the transporter, then they put them in the tray of the pickup truck and take it down to the battle zone. So those big transporters, they can be younger.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Viggo Holmson says the help that all these volunteer groups provide is invaluable to the frontline units. It also gives a morale boost to the soldiers, letting them know they're not alone, that people really care. And I guess that I don't know if you've ever had feedback in that sort of vein, but the idea that there are people who are still caring for us that are, because there must be such mixed emotions or such mixed messaging for these troops, where on the one hand they're like, yeah, they support us, and the world is behind Ukraine, and then they hear like, oh, Trump deciding not to give aid, or this nation pulling back, or Germany, the AfD suddenly doing well, and this and that, or not suddenly, but then there must be mixed senses of what's going on in the world and whether people still really do care for them, these Ukrainian soldiers. So it must be nice to get that kind of feedback if you do indeed get it, that thank you for caring.
Well, I got that sort of feedback today. I was on Rick the Ukrainian stream, and I was in a very silly mood, and he had a very lovely soldier that I'd followed his career since Bakhmut period. He was quite a prominent streamer from that area, and I gave him a bit of a cougar number. And Rick was a bit concerned that it was a bit like sexual harassment, and the soldier said, no, it's just so nice to know that people care about us.
Yeah, and that's lovely.
Yeah.
Question from Sorry, Ronnie Rankin here. Just a random question. Have you seen the documentary Enemy in the Woods? So there's a BBC documentary called Enemy in the Woods, which is filmed up in Kupiansk direction, and it's filmed on GoPros, on body cams with all the soldiers, and then eventually the film crew that make the documentary do the intersperse those kind of most of the footage with bits back in the bunker or whatever, back at base. It's an incredible documentary. It's on it's on iPlayer. It's sad, as in there are people who die in the documentary, and subsequent to the documentary, many of the people in the documentary have died. The producer on Twitter has said, yeah, sadly, you know, this person who was in the documentary has died on the front lines and blah blah blah. But it is an incredible insight to fighting up there. It's filmed during sort of winter time, I think, last year up in Kupiansk, and the forest north of Kupiansk, which is now broadly under control of the Russians. But yeah, very worthwhile watching that.
Wow.
That documentary.
I haven't seen 21 Days in Mariupol either. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. Well worth watching.
Really hard to get here, and it's not on streams,
yeah.
but it might be by now. Like, I've been waiting for it to come through and binge.
Yeah, I don't know if I think I might have paid to see that out of principle. Yeah. And the other one I paid to see is Bylines TV, which is a media organisation in the UK, with John Sweeney, made a documentary called East. What is it? And I paid Bylines TV to watch that out of principle as well. And that was a really good one. I forget what the name is. Bylines TV, Sweeney.
I did purchase a video of a DVD of a movie called White Raven.
I saw that. That's on Netflix. White Raven.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was on Amazon. I watched that on Amazon.
Well, there's two White Ravens, and one of them's an American film, but the one that's Ukrainian is the one I'm
talking. I watched the Ukrainian one.
Very worth watching. Very interesting about a young teacher who goes from being totally naive about the whole scenario to becoming a frontline sniper, and how snipers actually work. God.
Yes, yeah, it was. I really enjoyed watching that. Under Deadly Skies, Ukraine's Eastern Front, and you had something to do with the East. That is a John Sweeney documentary. That's on Bylines TV. So that's another one that's well worth watching. And obviously, 10 Days in Ukraine is sorry, not 10 Days in Ukraine. That's my own little thing. 21 Days in Mariupol.
21 Days in Mariupol.
Yeah, is brilliant. Just on the Australian front,
you would have watched that.
Sorry?
Winter on Fire.
Winter on Fire. I keep talking about that being one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen in my life. It is so moving. It's free on YouTube now. So Netflix have put that on YouTube. It's a Netflix documentary, but they put it on YouTube so you can watch it for free if you don't have Netflix. Really very good.
Yeah, really fun.
Matt Bishop from Australia says, in Australia, we don't worry about invasion ourselves because the snakes and the spiders, the sharks and the crocs, the jellyfish, the octopus, and the drop bears will save us. Someone says,
everybody off.
Don't forget the emus. What are drop bears? Are they koalas that drop on you?
Well, no, there's two types of bears that we have in Australia. One's the koala, which is a cuddly, quiet sort of creature that's really easy to manage. But the other is a very similar looking creature called a drop bear. And it drops out of the trees on you and bites you on the neck.
Oh, wow.
And it's a big, scary bear. And there was a wonderful bit of film of a documentary maker, and she was coming to meet there was a drop bear in captivity, and the handlers, she wanted to hold a drop bear thinking it was going to be like a koala bear. And they had to put her in full body armor to film this thing. And it's a complete fake. It's not true. It's a joke, but I had you going. It's a myth.
We have, I had been to Australia. I backpacked around Australia in 1996. And I saw some redback spiders in a toilet in some service station we stopped at in the middle of the outback, but I had an amazing experience, but I won't regale you with tales of my my youthful exuberance. So Anna Down says, do you wait until all the money is collected before buying the trucks, or do you have them on a conveyor belt? We sort of talked about this earlier a little bit.
Car4Ukraine doesn't have a whole lot of cash sitting in spare, and the cars have to be bought from the person selling them. So yeah, we have to wait for the money to come in. But the in this situation, we're buying them as the money's coming in.
Yeah.
So every time we hit another car, like we're up to 10 cars now, the money gets transferred straight across to the UK, and then another car is bought. Another 10 cars will be coming through. Yeah, so it's very immediate the way they work. They don't sit around on money and then go, let's build up a convoy of 30 cars or anything like that. They just go, okay, here's a car, here's money for a car, send it to UK. The guy over there buys a car. The guy over there is a really interesting case, you know, over there, I mean near where you are, in London. He's got a very senior position in an international bank, and he spends all his spare time buying vehicles. You know, he's just a machine. He's up till 3 a.m. just picking them off the internet and lining up the next day, you know, and every spare time he comes home. So he goes to work at 7, comes home at 5, gets on the internet or gets in a vehicle with one of his mates, and they drive off to Newcastle or somewhere. They pick up a car, they come back, they go online, they buy some more vehicles, and then the next day they start again. It's just
what incredible stories there are of this war, how like the absolute bravery of people on the front line and volunteers who have gone across the world to go and fight on the front line. That kind of really obvious bravery and courage of putting your life on the line, but then also all these people around the world who are doing magnificent things, working, you know, all the hours of the day because they feel that moral obligation to do so. So, you know, a banker in London working all that time to get. Is he right? Okay, so there's that connection.
And all his support team are Ukrainians living in London. Yeah, but he's a really senior person. He's you know, on the board of charities and things like that. He's just got to stay a little bit under the radar about who he is, because he could be a target. But he's a wonderful, wonderful man. I just thought he was spectacular, because you could tell this man was a man of great substance. Yeah. And strangely enough, you'll get to meet him when you pick up your car, because he'll be
fab.
Sergey. And I'll just say quietly, his wife is Russian.
Oh, wow. Goodness.
So it's quite a complex situation, you know, and she is fully on board that this is a fight that must be won against the Russians. Her family are not of the same
opinion. Yeah.
It's really difficult.
Thank you to Johnny Nedregard for helping out the channel. Hello, community. Slava Ukraini. Thank you, Johnny. Always good to have you on board. Anna Downs then asks you, do you accept monthly donations, or do we have to wait for the next campaign? I mean, this campaign's still going, and I presume there are campaigns going on all the time for you.
Yeah, so on your, if you bring up that website picture that you've got, because it's not showing on mine. I don't know why mine doesn't show the 3rd campaign. You've got the 3 campaigns up there, haven't you?
Okay, let us just add that to the stage. There we go. I'm going to get rid of the main
page.
Yep. I will. I'm going to re-share the whole screen, because then I can change tabs. Sorry about this. I'm talking to myself. Okay, there we go. Right, so if we now can do this, then we go across to these ones.
Yeah, this one. So Power the Frontline stays up most of the time, or something like that. And that's the kind of grassroots background running campaign for anybody who wants to just donate to Car4Ukraine.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And then we have these other more transient ones.
Campaigns with our YouTube channels.
And yeah, go and check out Car4Ukraine on YouTube. Here on the ATP Geopolitics campaign page, we have crept up further towards 37,000. So thank you for those who have given today. That's really great. We've already had a look at Malcolm, but you know, put your put your little comments on the donor wall and let us know your thoughts, but really appreciate the support that you guys have given already
Have
today.
you explained that banner where they all get their name on the banner if they want it stuck on the car? Anybody who doesn't want to be anonymous.
So please, please
so
explain.
Scroll back down those pictures you were just showing of your campaign.
Yep, down here.
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, I was talking through that. You weren't there.
Go down. So scroll up there, that one. So that becomes a sticker on the vehicle. See how the vehicle on the back window, there's a sticker with names on it, but they've blown it up for the photograph of all the different people who donated towards that vehicle. So Ivan keeps this massive spreadsheet of all these donations coming in. And if you want to be part of that, we don't do them with the rocket trucks so much, but with any other vehicle, you can get if you don't want to be anonymous, you can get your name there. And depending on how much you get a rank, an army rank. And it was so funny because I mean, Ivan's really good at English and he gets his spelling better than me most of the time. But do you think he could spell colonel? He had coronel, he had colonor. It was so funny. I had to 3 times get him to spell colonel right because it doesn't make sense phonetically, does it?
No, and do you know what? I was ridiculing Polish the other day because there was a place name that started RZ, and I was like, come on guys, this is ridiculous. So anyway, people were having a go at me for saying you can't really talk, look at English, look at colonel, and they came up with colonel, and as an example I was like, yeah, the English language is ridiculous. I do understand
that town where we went across the border into Ukraine to get to Lviv, which is a nice small border to cross at, and that's the nearest town. And I sent it to you in the itinerary for the convoy, and it's spelled PRZYMESL or something. And
what are you doing? Stop doing that to me.
This word. Anyway, they just go Shemshel.
Marino asks, I give up with Polish myself. ATP Geopolitics, question for Car4Ukraine. Is it possible to get the red-orange flame pin with the trident?
I don't think that's released yet. I think that's a teaser. That one and so there's the flame and they describe the other one as the heart, but they both look like flames to me. But they're both teasers. So for this campaign, you can get the drone, the innovator. You can get the rocket truck, who I think's the fighter or something, and you can get the medic cat. But the other ones will come available fairly soon during the year. So come back again.
Absolutely.
Numpty Bumpty, have you tried approach the Mayor of London? Well, yeah, that's been a big push for most of the year because there's various groups that do trucks in UK. There's Pickups for Peace. There's I'm trying to think of the names of the other one. There's about 5 groups that do different formations. They all hit 500 vehicles at about the same time later this year, which was pretty interesting. So they're all going neck and neck. And so they, as a group, they approached the Mayor of London about the ULEZ cars.
So just to give people the context of this, so in UK, in London, there's a ultra low emissions zone, which is supposed to be a zone where you have only supposed to have cars that, because to keep air pollution down, only have cars that electric cars or low emission cars. And as part of that, there's a scrappage scheme whereby high emission trucks or car vehicles can be scrapped in order to buy low emission vehicles. And they were originally going to, I guess, like proper scrap those vehicles because they wanted to obviously keep those vehicles off the road. And then there was all this controversy as Ukraine at the time was saying, hang on, we really need those kind of vehicles. Can you get those to us? And then the Mayor of London saying, well, actually, at the time it was a Conservative government. He is a Labour Mayor of London. He was saying, well, I can't do that because literally the laws at the moment state that we have to do X, Y, and Z. And then lots of people are attacking Sadiq Khan as a mayor for not trying hard enough. He's saying, actually, legally, I can't. So the Conservative government needs to change the rules. So anyway, the end result is the rules got changed and it all got given the green light. And so I don't know what has happened to those scrappage vehicles.
I'm not 100% sure either, but it was meant to be done as a group, like everybody got an equal share, but there was a dominant charity that kind of took the lead with it. And I think they have, either they've kept the cars, I mean, I could be completely wrong here, or the relationship with the Mayor of London has changed, or something's changed, because none of them have come through for us, for Car4Ukraine. None of the, I mean, I think they got 3 or something. It made no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, this should be a continuous flow of vehicles that the London's buying back from people, and then they can just gift them to Ukraine. But it's not going that way, it seems.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure. It'd be really interesting to find out.
Yeah. Just Me says Claire's working hard. I've seen her on multiple streams in the past few days. She's a good egg. Absolutely good stuff, Claire.
Oh, thank you for watching all the streams. You must be bored with the stories, God.
Yeah. I did a bit of a technical question. Matt in Australia says, does Claire use OFX to transfer the money? Much better rates than a normal bank transfer, and I think they're originally an Australian company.
Yeah, I actually I have a Wise card for travel expenses, so I use that, and I don't get charged fees. I mean, I get a tiny fee. It's a similar system. Yeah.
So that's happy days. Well,
yeah. So let's talk about armoring.
Sorry?
When you're ready, let's talk about armoring.
Yes. So that's just where I was going to go to, just to let people know that we are still struggling to get over that $37,000 mark. It would be euro mark. Sorry, you got me into it now. That would be fantastic if we can hit that. But thank you all for your continued support. Now, what we're going to do, I've shown you these before, but Claire can talk us through with a bit more kind of knowledge. I showed you these 4 photos that Ivan sent us concerning a vehicle that Car4Ukraine had provided for the front line that had been hit by, or nearby there been an explosion throwing out a bunch of shrapnel, and the armor in these vehicles saved the 3 people inside, and they're very thankful for it. You can see there's alterations here. You can see they're bolting rivets in the window there, and these vehicles are, in this case, aren't just what you're buying off the street and then painting them. They are armored up inside the door, I believe. But yeah, what information can you give us concerning that?
So a couple of things to point out is, one, if you just go back to that photo you had up a second ago, the black plate that's covering part of that window opening. So the window glass has exploded away and it's gone. But that black plate there is actually 8 millimeters thick metal. And that's there to protect the head and neck of the driver. And there's another one that is bigger in the back, but it's really hard to see because the black window is still there and it's kind of dirty and black, but it's there. So that's those head and neck protectors. I mean, if you've got really short legs and your seat's too far forward, you're going to be in front of it. But they needed to have some mix between protection and visibility for these drivers. But so the idea is you drive with your seat back and you can sit right back in your seat if there's a drone in the air in your neighborhood and it can't get you. So in that case, it saves the driver. The other thing I noticed about this car is I think this was a drone hit and the drone had shrapnel in it. But they've targeted the right-hand side of the vehicle. So in this case, they are aware that this is a British vehicle and the driver is on the right, which is interesting to consider that they're thinking this much about it. Like they haven't targeted the other side. Then when you look at the photograph of the door open, there's not even a hole in the door. It's like nothing's come through. The glass went, but the driver was saved. So his legs and body are protected by the armor inside that door. And there's another set of photos that Ivan sent the next day with the little video that shows you a really good example of how the armor works, because that car is almost completely trashed. Have you got that one, do you think, Jonathan?
I don't know if I do have those. I'll look for them. Have you thought about putting up caging on the windows to protect the windows at all?
We've had a lot of discussion about this over time. I'm just looking for it on our Christmas
Yeah,
tree.
he's not sent that to me, so I've not seen that. At least not that I'm aware.
I relay nearly everything onto you because I know you're not very good on this site, but I might have missed that one. So excuse me while I look down while I talk. So with regard any sort of more reinforcement, it depends on feedback from the soldiers. If they want it, they get it. If they don't ask for it, they don't get it. They will let us know what they need. So I've just sent you the photograph. Then there's the little video of this that I can send you.
Yep, I'll get that.
There we are. Okay.
So interesting. So you know,
so
if they wanted that, they would give that to you.
They know what they want. To some degree, they're doing some things themselves. And, you know, we were asked by somebody recently this week, you know, why don't you black the windows so they can't see who's in there? And you go, well, you know, if they wanted black windows, I'm sure the soldiers would ask for it, right? That you could laminate the windows, no problem, and help protect them from shattered glass and stuff like that. But that hasn't been a thing that they've actually asked for. So this vehicle is almost completely destroyed.
Can you let me know? I mean, I can't even work out what that's showing.
So if you go to the video that I sent you second,
I'm just I can't at the moment. I don't know where that is. It's just loading.
It's just coming.
That is an MP4 as well.
Okay. So this car was completely destroyed by attack on the front line. All the occupants got out. So, and then a drone went back to photograph this car because they couldn't believe these guys got out. And then I said to Ivan, well, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. It just looks as though this car is completely destroyed. I can't believe anybody survived this. So then he sent the little photograph with the schematic of where the armor is still there. And that's the other photograph. So he's outlined the armor in the door and the little head and neck protector section, and shown how but you know, clearly the front of the vehicle is destroyed too, so it wasn't drivable, but all the people got out and left the battlefield and got home.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And you know, I mean, I wonder about the survivability of people. I've seen infantry fighting vehicles fundamentally explode and disassemble themselves, and thinking, well, no human being survives that. And then I'm amazed to see like the Russian soldiers like run away. Yeah, but I do wonder whether they got internal injuries and whatnot. But it's just, yes, it's amazing. But nonetheless, I mean, this is testament here to the added protection that has been put on. Question from JR is, do they remove the airbags?
Yeah, I think they do that. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have that go off in your face, could you? You wouldn't get far. Right. The previous vehicle with all the holes in it, that one had a jammer on it. And so there's been a lot of discussion about, because NAFO provide jammers, right? With every vehicle gets a jammer. And what Car4Ukraine has found is that you provide a jammer and then the soldiers think they're safe. The jammer will protect them from the drones, and it doesn't in all instances. Like the Russians can bypass the frequency of the jammer, and unless you have a really, really, really expensive jammer with all frequencies, the jammer is not real dependable. And in the case of that vehicle, it was the basic armor that protected it. And I'm a great believer in basics. I'd prefer to have a wind down window than electric windows. They're very convenient for upping all windows and stuff like that. But sometimes I just think, you know, why can't we just wind these things? I'm a back to basics type person. And I think the basic protection that you get with armor is been proven to be so much more valuable than even the jammers.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, it's really good to see that armor is doing the job that you guys have hoped it would do. So really good news.
Well, even I said this week, he said, you know, when you see photos like this, it makes you feel so much better that you're doing something worthwhile, that here's a real instance where these people's lives were clearly saved by what we've been doing. And that was really nice to hear him say that, because, you know, so often when you're just responding to things, you're just like a machine. You go on and on and on and on. And you need these moments where you go, yeah, that's a highlight moment.
Well, look, as we kind of meander to the end here, Claire, it's been a bit of a last minute wonder here, where we've managed to get together at just literally a couple of minutes' notice. You had time to make a cup of tea, and that was it. So it's absolutely fabulous. Thank you.
Oh, it's been lovely to come on and see you. And I love your jumpers.
Merry Christmas, everybody, wherever you are.
Merry Christmas, everybody. You have a good time. And thank you for all your support for the soldiers in Ukraine.
Yeah. Absolutely. And look, you know, there's the link on the screen, but it should be in a live chat. It's down at the bottom of the video anyway. It's absolutely fantastic that we have already provided a vehicle for these guys that will be turned into one of these. And let's just remind ourselves of that video, and hopefully this I'm going to stop the screen and present it. So I unfortunately have to do this so it gets the sound. But let's have Ivan speaking to us again.
Hello, Jonathan. And hello, beautiful ATP Geopolitics community.
You are beautiful.
You are the greatest. To be honest, I didn't expect much, because I didn't know Jonathan. I didn't know what you guys are capable of. But you raised money within 26 hours for this beautiful Toyota Hilux. And your beautiful slogan that says "Fighting for Freedom and the Truth." And with this pickup truck that will be later upgraded with the rocket launcher is a good proof. You guys not just talking about having a victory, but you're actually fighting. And thank you all very much. I think your community already raised for 3.5 cars, and you're reaching 4. Besides this one, we have a beautiful convoy of 9 vehicles. On our YouTube channel, you'll find out more about each of them. But now I'd like to thank you all and wish you all Merry Christmas. Slava Ukraini.
Absolutely.
Christmas, Ivan. I think we've got to move that other banner to down lower on the door.
That'll be fabulous if you can, to keep that one there. I would love that, because, you know, it's so important for the work that I do here in like fighting disinformation. So I think fighting for freedom, but also fighting for truth, and I feel really strongly about that.
Yeah, we did a beautiful banner for David Knowles, and the banner, you know, it had beautiful. The logo of Ukraine, the latest, the photo of David Knowles, but it also had verified facts and truth in reporting, or something like that. And, you know, these things are really important to express. And you know, on that note, I mean, Ivan and I put quite a lot of thought into how to word up this campaign, and telling the story of the information warriors and how you've been fighting the battle with Ukraine since the very beginning too, and the work you do was very heartfelt for Ivan and I to express and get that out there, because I think you're kind of unsung heroes in this whole story.
Well, it's very kind of you to say so. I think, you know, the whole community here at ATP, but not just ATP Geopolitics, right? All the channels that are supporting Ukraine all have the same intention in mind, which is to report hopefully accurately on this war, but from also a moral point of view. Like I remember at the beginning, I'm hopefully fairly objective. I don't shy away from saying, look, this is a problem for Ukraine. This is bad. This has happened. You know, I try and be objective while also being very much pro-Ukraine. So I'm unashamedly, like, I get people that come on my channel saying, well, I expect this isn't, you know, neutral or whatever. No, it is honest and truthful. But my goodness, if you can't understand that Ukraine are the good guys here and Russia are the bad guys, I know that's very simplistic, and I know there is added nuance, but really that's the moral evaluation that most of us are making. If you can't recognize that, then you need to go and have a long, hard look at yourself, because you've got some issues. Like it is abundantly obvious to me that that is the case.
So how is it that so many people are still questioning that and want Russia to come out of this okay? And I can't for the life of me get my brain around it. Why, in American politics this exists, and even globally it exists.
Well, I'd say the power of Russian disinformation, it is incredible, and it is all over the place at all times. Like, we've got a Labour government that's come in, we've got Keir Starmer who's trying to make changes. Now, I won't be too political here, but there's an awful lot of negative campaigning going on against him, and I would say a large proportion of that will be founded in Russian troll factories, troll farms, whereby they sense a wedge issue, and we don't want these kind of pro-European politicians ruling UK. We want to divide Europe, divide and conquer. So AfD has an interesting infographic that's out showing all the influence campaigns that Russia are doing in Europe and all the parties that they are supporting. So if you're supporting those parties for other reasons, which might well be genuine, right? I'm not saying that all kind of that kind of political thought is ostensibly wrong prima facie, but if you are supporting those parties, then you are supporting parties again supported by Russia, and it's not surprising that in amongst their agenda are pro-Russia, anti-Ukraine politics, and that's sadly the case. And in the US it's similar, but there's more complexity, because you get, and I don't want to go off on one for too long here, but you've had in the US, particularly on the right, with a flavor of republicanism, you like Christian conservative values, and so certain people who would think, right, the US is degrading into degeneracy and blah blah blah, you look over to Russia where Putin is being strong on his supposedly conservative values, conservative Christian values, even though I could point loads of holes in that, because actually the church attendance in Russia is actually much lower, and etc etc etc. So it's all a bit of a show, but these kind of ultra conservative Christian values that he talks about a lot in his big speeches then really appeals to a certain part of the electorate in America, where they go, that's the kind of leader I want here, espousing these really strong conservative Christian values and blah blah blah. And so you get these connections. So that you've had certain people at rallies in the US that have been asked up front, would you prefer Biden or Putin to be president of the US? And they'll say, I would prefer Putin over Biden. You're like, what is going on here? Where you've got that division in US politics, which is the other guys are worse than Russia, are worse than a dictatorship. And then you have like Viktor Orban seen as very much this, and Trump keeps talking about how wonderful Viktor Orban is, and he's a terrible leader, he's an autocratic leader, etc etc. So it's all very complex, but there's a lot to do with kind of identity, political identity. And I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in the UK it's not so much that you are defined by your political beliefs in the UK, because you generally aren't registered as so in the US you're often registered as a Republican, an independent, or a Democrat, and so it becomes part of your identity. I am a Democrat or I am a Republican, and this is a Republican house. So you talk about like your domicile as being this haven of political ideology in a way that you just wouldn't say. You may have some people say this is a Labour house, we don't want that kind of thinking here, but generally your politics can shift more easily in the UK, and I think that partly explains why there's just all this confusion of identity, and these people are more like me in Russia than actually people who live in my own country, which is false, but that's a sense that they have. But anyway, there you go.
I thought Andrew Mercado was very interesting when you had him on board on the Jonathan Fink, talking about his story. I thought that was very telling about American politics and that strong identity in the family of, we are a Republican family.
Yeah, exactly.
We MAGA because that is the Republican base. And, like Yeah, that was interesting. Anyway, that's very helpful. Thank you, Jonathan, because I really am struggling with this whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, goodness me, there's another 2 hours left in my explanation there, but we'll save that for another day. Look, thank you so much for coming on, because it's way past midnight for you now over there. What I'd love is if we could get by the end of today past 37,000 as a channel here, ATP Geopolitics. We seem to have got a little bit stuck on 36,878. But thank you for all of those who have donated today, and thank you for all those who have already donated. The problem is most of you will have already donated to this campaign, and so it's very difficult to drum up further support because, you know, it's Christmas. People have exhausted their finances. I do understand. So if you can not contribute, you can certainly share on the social media streams as well. Or just to say, Darren has disagreed with me. It's not that way in most homes. It also depends what sorry, just to go back to that point about being registered. It's not all states where you have to register. It depends what state you're in. And it also probably depends geographically whether you are. There are certain areas that really are traditionally very much a certain, you know, if you go to the heart of Louisiana, right, it's going to be a very much a Republican area. If you go to somewhere like, I don't know, Oregon, is going to be very much Democratic, and there'll be like elements of much more like cultural identity in some of these areas. Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. I just want to say thank you very much to Claire, not just for coming on to this stream, which is obviously really kind of her, but thank you for all the work you do, because, you know, I assume without you, Car4Ukraine wouldn't be able to achieve what it has been able to achieve. So, you know,
well, just recently I've made a difference, but yeah, they've been going great guns. It's not really actually all about me. I've just brought in the crowdfunding part of it, and it's been successful because of you guys, really. Yeah, no, it's fantastic, the response and the support that we're getting for the soldiers, because it's not, you know, it's nothing to do with us or me or you. We're tools, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the soldiers that need saving. And just to encourage your donors, Dimitri from More Translated completed his second truck today.
He did. It's someone,
which was pretty exciting, because he's, you know, he's got an awful lot of followers because he's a major information resource. He's
one of my main sources. Well, not main. He's what I consistently use Dimitri for my videos. But if we look at the fundraisers, he's in second place, having completed that second. Oops, no, share this one instead. There we go. There he is at over 20,000. So he's done a really good job. But yeah, fantastic stuff.
Pretty sure Andrew Mercado will get up there. I've got Sukumanis now supporting the group. So he's completed, he's going to go on, but he's going to support the team.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We've got Rick the Ukrainian likely to at least buy one truck. He's on over 5 now. And Jonathan's going on holidays to Denmark. Do you know?
Oh, is he?
We've got to get him back working, right?
Right. That's why he hasn't answered my message.
No, he's traveling to Denmark today. So hopefully he can do a bit more work. Some of those, the really little ones, little Philip Ittner, this is his 5th war as a journalist. You know, he's a major source as a journalist, but this is his first fundraiser. And it was like, sorry, Claire, but how do you actually do this?
Well, it'd be great if we can certainly all help with them. So fantastic. We're all in this, you know, it's the end result, isn't it?
It's great to do it as a team, I find. But you've been the powerhouse, of course.
Well, that's everybody. It's a rarity that I'm seeing in those terms. But just a bit random
more money and have a fabulous Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Benny Pye just adds another documentary. I forgot to say the Zelensky story. It's a 3-part one on BBC. I think it's released in other places like France as a 1-part documentary. So I think they condensed it. But the 3-part one on iPlayer, if you can get a VPN and watch it on iPlayer, the Zelensky story is a fascinating insight, and a lot of him talking, himself and his wife, about their own kind of story through the war. BBC got really good access to Zelensky.
He is. What an extraordinary man.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, Claire. Yeah, and you take care of yourself. You take care of everyone else. I'm going to try and get my normal videos also done today. But thanks, Claire. All the
Okay.
best and Merry Christmas
See you
to
all later.
one and all.
Okay. Bye.
All the best. Ta-da. Brilliant stuff. Anyway, thank you to Claire. That was fabulous. You guys take care, and we will I'll be talking to you very shortly with my military aid and possibly geopolitics video as well today. There's quite a lot to talk about geopolitically speaking. There's some crazy stuff going on in the US with regard to Trump threatening Panama, threatening Greenland, and making all sorts of crazy stuff happen that will potentially happen that is fascinating. So geopolitics is going to be fun, isn't it? Anyway, take care, guys, and I will speak to you soon.